Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Doing Justice Brings Joy. As you can see, I'm all dolled up today because we have a special guest coming on today, and that will be Mr. Pierce Freelon, Grammy-nominated hip-hop artist and author, best-selling author, who will appear shortly on the show. We are celebrating this month Black August, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, Black August is a month often associated with remembrance, resistance, and the long struggle for freedom. But Black August is also a reminder that liberation has always had an economic dimension. For generations, Black communities have understood a fundamental truth. Political power without economic power is fragile. The ability to own land, start businesses, control capital, employ your neighbors, and invest in our communities has never been merely a financial question. It has been a freedom question. When we look at the history of Black America, we see entrepreneurs, farmers, bankers, builders, educators, and innovators creating institutions in the face of extraordinary barriers. They were not simply building wealth, they were building independence. This Black August, we're going to be exploring what economic self-determination looks like in the 21st century. What does ownership mean in an era of private equity, corporate consolidation, AI, and widening wealth gaps? How do we create businesses that build community wealth, not just individual success? Possibility comes with that economic influence because Black August reminds us that freedom is not only something we defend, it's something we build. And I'm so excited. I see that Pierce is trying to join us, but and maybe having some difficulty. So I'm going to go on and talk a little bit about what has been the cornerstone of wealth building in Durham. Durham's Black Wall Street had three pillars of financial support. It had the pillar of Mechanics and Farmers Bank, Mutual Savings and Loan, and Mutual Insurance Company. And because of these three pillars of Black wealth in Durham, we were able to build substantial wealth. We were able to build institutions like North Carolina Central University. We were able to build financial success and wealth and generational wealth here in Durham. We're about to lose the last pillar on that stool, and I'll talk about that. Mechanics and Farmers Bank is merging with Optus Bank out of South Carolina. Now, this is a good thing for Black America in that this creates the very first billion-dollar Black-owned bank. But it does have consequences for us here in Durham because we are going to lose Mechanics and Farmers Bank. We will only be able to have that name, that historic pillar of Black Wall Street here in Durham for 2 years, and then it will turn into Optus Bank. And we will lose the headquarters. The headquarters will move to South Carolina. So we're going to talk next week about what the consequences of that are and what the opportunities are, not just for North Carolina, but for everyone. And so it's very important that we understand what we have the potential to lose. um, and what that means, what that will mean for our future. I'm gonna share my screen. Well, well, my guest is here, so um, we will talk about this next week in full about the impact of this acquisition, not merger, acquisition of Mechanics and Farmers Bank um, in full next week. But the exciting thing is that this new merger of two black-owned banks will be a $1.27 billion in combined assets. Um, and but the concern for Durham is that 68% of all the deposits in Mechanics and Farmers Bank come from Durham. So it has substantial impact on financing small businesses, small black-owned businesses in the future. And I want to welcome our guest, Pierce Freelon, um,
Hello.
to our show. Um, for who doesn't know that Pierce Freelon is a what, 4 or 5 time Grammy nominated um, hip hop artist, children's artist, um, author of children's books. I love Daughter Daddy, Daddy Daughter Day.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
and it's just a beautiful thing. I've known Pierce and his family for since he was just a wee lad, and not only is he a Grammy nominated artist, but he's a former city council person, and he is now a beloved entrepreneur and a product that we're going to talk about how you move from how economic development is. He's not just opening a business, but he is also part of a revitalization of under resourced community. And so, welcome Pierce to Doing Justice Brings Joy.
Thank you so
And
much for having me.
so tell us about all the different things that you're up to, but I'm really interested in CocoFro, the development of the product, um, how you got the support for economic development and its connection to rebuilding and reinvesting in Durham. So, welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Well, I was listening in before you, backstage, before you brought me on, and hearing you talk about Mechanics and Farmers Bank and, NC Mutual, and this proud legacy of Black entrepreneurship in Durham. I was born and raised here, and I'm so proud to stand on the broad shoulders of the many ancestors across disciplines. You mentioned just the bank and insurance company, but I'm thinking about Polly Murray and in
Yes.
the spiritual space, and as a practitioner of the law. I'm thinking of Ernie Barnes as an artist and as an athlete, and people like my dad, Phil Freelon, who started his architecture firm here in Durham, doing buildings at the police station and at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park, and went on to do great things like the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History. We are part of a very proud and very long legacy of Black excellence here. And so it is a real privilege to name those ancestors and also to build on that foundation, because I think there's something really special about Durham where Black people build things here that last centuries and that build wealth and that change lives in a way that distinguishes us from other places in this country
That's right.
and other places in the world. So you know that history and that memory is my inspiration for starting CocoFro. And CocoFro is it's ice cream. So this is freeze dried ice cream. If you've ever been to the museum, like I went in North Durham to the Museum of Life and Science, when you get to that, what would you call it? It's the gift shop. The gift shop at the end of
Yes.
the tour through the Science Museum, they have astronaut ice cream. This was ice cream that was developed by NASA during the Apollo missions in the 60s and the 70s. They want to send astronauts up to the moon or to Mars or whatever. You have to figure out how to make it edible long term. You have to take the moisture out of it. There's things you have to do to your food to preserve it for space travel. So they would take these ice cream sandwiches or just Neapolitan chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla ice cream. They deep freeze it to about -40 below, and then they suck all the air out of the chamber to freeze dry it. It comes out about the texture of a cookie, and as soon as it touches your tongue, it melts, and
Yes.
you'll taste that ice cream. So the technology has been around for a minute. And when I was a
Yes,
kid,
I remember those experiences at the Museum of Life and Science, and uh, yeah, that was one of the funnest, one of the unique things about our museum is that we had um, an actual um, space capsule from NASA, and it's
mhm,
still there.
yep,
And and we were the very first themed um, museum that had those features, that had those products.
mhm.
And to see what you've done with it is just amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I was always, I grew up really fascinated by science and science fiction. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and used to love going to that museum and learning about space and science. And so, uh, but I come from a long line of lactose intolerant men. It's funny. My dad, you know, sometimes we would all suffer the consequences after ice cream or a cheeseburger or a slice of pizza went down. You're in trouble because that lactose intolerance kicks in, your stomach hurts, you don't feel well. This is like 85% of Black people are lactose intolerant. And so when I became a parent, I'm taking my kids to the museum. I'm like, oh, you're going to love this stuff. Buying the space ice cream, astronaut ice cream. And I'm reading the back label. I'm like, sugar, cream, milk. These are things that as soon as I hit my 30s, my lactose intolerance kicked in, just like my old man. I can't eat it anymore. And so my wife was in grad school at the time. She was getting her master's in international business from UC Greensboro. And I was like, did you know there's not a dairy-free or vegan or plant-based freeze-dried ice cream anywhere in the country on the market? There's one in the UK, there's one in Canada, but in the US, it just doesn't exist. And I was like, we should try to explore what it might look like to make our own freeze dried ice cream that markets not just in space and science museums or children's museums like Marbles or the Caladium Museum in Winston. We're in the Asheville Science Museum, but it's also really popular in adventure and outdoor retailers. So your Dick's
Right.
Sporting Goods, REI, these are campers and hikers and backpackers. They also like freeze dried foods because they're lightweight. You can put them in your camping gear and go off to climb the Appalachians or Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro, wherever you want to go. And it's a healthy, lightweight snack that kind of appeals to these audiences. So I got to cooking, Miss Stella. I looked up some vegan recipes. I tried it with coconut cream. I tried it with different types of ingredients. My wife was like, "Get the sugar out of there," because another issue in the Black community is diabetes and heart
Yeah.
disease. And so this is a sugar-free ice cream. We make it with maple syrup and with dates, just crushed up dates. Um,
Oh, that's so delicious.
and it's tasty. It's freeze dried ice cream. It's tasty as freeze dried ice cream. But what we're
It is.
excited about offering in Durham is we're going to have a tasting room for the ice cream before it's freeze dried. So we'll actually have cold scoops of real ice
Oh,
cream also at our shop here in East Durham. So we're excited to bring this new product, So the space that I'm in right now is it's going to be a manufacturing facility for the freeze dry product and a tasting room for the cold ice cream, which you could only get here in Durham.
That is so exciting. And I know that the space that you're in is also part of an economic development in an under-resourced community in Durham. Talk to us a little about because this is not the first um, effort by you and your family members to bring culture, to bring vitality, to bring economic and community development into neighborhoods. I'm thinking about North Star as
Mhm.
well. So talk about the thinking about how you chose that spot. Why is historically important for us in Durham, and why is economically important for
Yeah.
us as a community to think about again that innovation that I talked about in the opening, the innovation of black entrepreneurs, the creativity, the but the vitality and the sharing of that in
Mm.
community space.
Yeah, Miss Stella, thank you so much for asking that question. I just want to invite another ancestor, my grandmother, Queen Mother Frances Pierce. This is my mom's mom. She used to say, "Lift as you climb." That was one of
Come on
the
now,
that
come
was one
on
of the
now.
values that she instilled in us at a young age. And she did that. She owned a beauty salon, and she used to say, "We don't just do hair, we do prayer." And they really poured in through her practice as an entrepreneur into uplifting her community. And that's exactly what CocoFro wants to be about. We could have built a production, like when we first started making this stuff, it was flying off the shelf. We were producing out of a commercial kitchen in Hillsboro. And when we knew it was time to scale, we started looking for a spot. Durham is getting expensive. It's not like it was even 10 or 15 years ago. And so we had a real estate broker who was helping us find land that was in our budget. And so he was looking out in Butner and out in Oxford and, places, Hillsborough, places that were a little more affordable. But it was very important to me that we stay right here in Durham. And I'll tell you,
That's
before we landed here, we are at 1004 Morning Glory Avenue. The first place I was interested in, right up the street from here, was JC's Kitchen.
mm-hmm.
Now, JC's Kitchen, for those of y'all who don't know, is a staple, old school Durham soul food restaurant. And
Yes, it is.
and just like my grandma said, we don't just do hair, we do prayer. On JC's Kitchen, it says, "Where the food is anointed, and you won't be disappointed." Okay, so
Amen. Amen.
I
And
saw
they
that board.
delivered
I
on
saw
that.
that
They delivered on it.
they delivered on it. It was right there in their chicken and their collard greens and their mashed potatoes and all the wonderful food that they made and the space that they held. JC's Kitchen was a gathering spot for organizers during the movement for Black Lives. Still to this day, you can see the murals of people protesting and celebrating legacies of Black, not just entrepreneurs, but social justice activists. And so, and JC, by the way, JC, for those who don't know, that stands for Jesus Christ Kitchen. Like they weren't unapologetic about that rich spiritual tradition and the
That's
intersection
right.
in the Black
That's right.
freedom struggle between the Black church and the Black liberation fighters. So, um, yeah, that was that was when I saw that was for sale. I was like, let's make an offer. We made an offer. They didn't accept the offer. I don't know. Some developer got their hands on it, or maybe made a cash offer or something, and we couldn't compete. But when we saw this place open up on Morning Glory Avenue, my wife and I, we jumped on it. We had already got our financing together for JC's Kitchen, and this was just a perfect fit for us. And Miss Stella, you talked about under-resourced communities. This is one of them. This is one of them. We are a block away from that wall over there on East Main Street, right by the bus stop, where there's a lot of drug dealing and prostitution, and there's been a history of that from the people that I've talked to around this neighborhood. And this building has been sitting vacant. So I was just telling my who was I telling? I was telling my mom yesterday or 2 days ago. When people own property in Black communities and they don't do anything with it, that
Come on.
is it's not just it's not just like neutral. It's actually negative because
That's right.
when I tell you we are walking over, needles and beer bottles and condom wrappers and, pipes, this is it devolves into vagrancy and kind of a place for illegal activities to occur. And this is a Black community. I'm a block and a half away from Adriana Freeman's house. This is like, the Golden Belt, historic Golden Belt area. And it's just like, I wish that folks who own properties in East Durham would do something with those properties. Do something that's going to hire people from the community.
That's right. That's right.
That's gonna let the unhoused folks. And I listen. There have been several unhoused people sleeping on our porch. And I always treat them with respect and dignity because that could have been my granddaddy or my uncle. I've had family members who dealt with homelessness, and everybody deserves the love and empathy and dignity and care. Um, that you would treat, a family member with. So, but in coming here, we haven't even opened yet, but just in coming here, cleaning up the property, putting a sign out front, when an unhoused person is on our porch, bringing them some water, bringing them some snacks, hopping on the phone with Urban Ministries or with, what are the people right up the street that just bought Los Primos, Salvation Army, making sure folks are connected to resources, kind of letting folks know, hey, we're in here now, so this place is being cared for. So even some of the brothers, I've seen some drug deals go down on the corner. I greet those brothers and meet them and let them know that we're owners here now. We're starting a business. Guess what? It's not like you see on TV where they're gonna pull a gun on you or whatever. They're
No,
like,
it
yo,
is wrong.
they're like, respect, Black man. We glad you in the neighborhood. Like, you know
That's
what I
right.
mean? Like,
People do not understand that that community members want communities to prosper.
right.
They want opportunities to do something better.
Yes.
And if you give them that opportunity, they will make different choices if they have different options.
Options. Exactly.
If they
Exactly. And
have the different option, they will
yes.
make a different choice.
Yes.
And when you
And
treat people with dignity and
yes.
respect, they they will protect you and
Yes.
respect you. And
Yes.
and when you value every person, they will value the effort that you are making because they know you are making it on their behalf.
Yes. Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And so when you speak to economic impact, those are some of the intangibles, right? Like the way that I treat the people, around our property and in our community, that guess what? We're the newcomers here. So
Right.
we've been living on this porch for however many years. I'm the newcomer. So I try to treat myself, I try to enter the community with the type of humility that acknowledges and respects what was here before I got here, right?
That's
And
right.
so and so that's not going to show up in property taxes, right? These are like the intangibles of what it means to step into a house that's been vacant, to a building that's been kind of sitting there unutilized, and breathing new life into the community, into the block. And bit by bit, day by day, every time I'm out there mowing the lawn, painting a sign, hanging a shingle, I can see the impact that it's having on our vicinity. And as soon as we open our doors, it's going to be ice cream socials. It's going to be kids parties, birthday parties. It's going to be kind of concerts and, puppets. You can see right behind me, we got our mascot there. It was a big Afrofuturistic puppet. We're going to paint murals. My mom wants to do one of those like book share kind of community libraries for children's books where kids can come and take a book home with them, and I'll put my books in there. And we really want to, like my grandma said, to lift as we climb. and to make sure that that this community is more full than it was when we found it. That we were able to provide living wage jobs, walking distance from people's homes, who can have access to that
And
resource that they need.
that's so important in the neighborhood that you're working, that you're opening up, that you're committing to providing living wage jobs. That's not an easy thing for a starting entrepreneur to commit to, but that kind of commitment changes lives and changes communities. And where you are located in East Durham, East Durham is going through a renaissance. And so what you're doing is so important. And let me just say, I already see so much progress the setting that you're in, right? I'm looking at him going, wow, he's because I know when you started, and I'm like, wow, he's got this much done in what, 7, 8 weeks?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a few weeks, and what you're referring to weeks from, we did receive a economic incentives grant from the city on July 1st, and we hit the ground running July 2nd, as soon as we received that grant, or June 1st, maybe June 1st.
June
We
1st.
hit, we hit the ground running, and it's important to me that our political institutions are pouring resources into entrepreneurs in neighborhoods where if you didn't have that extra bump, if you didn't have that city support, if you didn't have that resource, you wouldn't either the type of innovation that you want wouldn't happen, or it would be much slower, or maybe not at all. And
Right.
so, we need that little bump, and really appreciative of Mayor Williams and the other council members, and for you for speaking at that city council meeting and advocating for this. When I was a city council member, I voted on economic incentive packages for the former No Bookstore and Ideal Sandwich Shop, which is also in East Durham. And Ideals has an hour-long wait to get a sandwich now. Like, I don't know that they would have had the resources to build that place out and to be as successful as they are if we had not made that initial investment. So I think the Office of Economic and Workforce Development, Chris Dickey and Josh Gunn and the team over there have been wonderful partners. And I can't wait to make them proud. I can't wait to make you proud. I can't wait to hand you a scoop of ice cream so you can taste how good it is. You can bring your grandkids and your community members over here and see, a live concert or a children's picture book reading or an event. We're just excited to get open, and so that's why I'm working so hard to get things popping over here.
Speaking of live concerts, talk a little bit about North Star and some of the challenges that federal policy and federal grant programs just being cut off without any notice, but yet we still, but yet we rise, right?
Yes,
It's still active, it's still open, it's still providing
yes,
meaningful cultural experiences and a safe space
yes.
for community. Talk a little bit about North Star and
I
the
will.
vision your mother had behind that and everything.
Yes, thank you for bringing up North Star, and I'm gonna keep naming ancestors today because you're bringing them out of me. So when you said, "And yet we rise," I thought of Maya Angelou's poem, "Still I Rise," and still I rise. Auntie Maya was based in the Winston Salem area and was like
That's
a
right.
godmother to my mom. She was friends with Queen Mother Frances Pierce, and my sister Maya was named after Dr. Angelou. And I think that when I think about that poem, "And Still I Rise," to me that is a mantra that applies not just to what North Star has done in the midst of cuts from the Trump administration in this kind of conservative, attack on what they might call DEI or CRT. There's academically and in the nonprofit space and the university system, there's this attempt to erase
That's
the progress that Black folks have made, whether it's at the Supreme Court, the gutting of the Civil Rights Act, and still we rise. So when I think of what Auntie Maya was attempting to convey in that poem, I don't think about 2024 or 2025 uh,
right.
with resources getting cut. I think about our ancestors going back to our enslaved ancestors and what they had to persevere through to create institutions like North Carolina College for Negroes, now North Carolina Central University.
That's right.
I think I think about the innovators of Black Wall Street, the protest movements of North Carolina A&T and the sit-ins and the work that they did. There are always going to be some cranky white men trying to yank, trying to pull money out our pockets, or trying
Come
to
on now,
lash,
come on.
listen, trying to lash obedience out our backs, or trying to take food out our mouths. That's been going on since we've been here, right? And
That's
yet,
right.
and still I rise. Auntie Maya was speaking to her ancestors like Harriet Tubman and Ida B. Wells and Mary McCoy Bethune, and many of the HBCUs are named after some of the visionaries who still rose even when that whip was being cracked, even when that bill was being written, even when that Jim Crow policy was being enacted. And so when we get hit with some federal cuts, what do? Well, we do the same thing our ancestors did. We pull our folks together. So when we lost about almost $100,000 2 summers ago, when the
Wow.
federal funds that were promised were cut, we went to Durham, Chapel Hill, Greensboro, Charlotte, Black philanthropy, local events, people coming out of their pockets, and we raised. I think we had maybe, if I remember correctly, we lost $75,000 in funding, but we went to our community and raised 120 from right
Come
here
on now.
in North Carolina. And there's another local artist named Reese Palmer who has a song called Seeds. So Trump thought he was burying us, but actually he didn't realize we were seeds. That
That's
soil
right.
went over our heads. It got dark. We sprouted up with a strong new plant that's bearing fruit in different ways. Now, guess what? We have stronger ties with our local small donors than we did before that grant was taken away. And so that we now have, ironically, a more sustainable path forward outside of relying on federal resources. So, and that is the story of Black resilience that has been the legacy of our ancestors. And and you almost have to anticipate. They're going to come when they see Black people thriving. They're going to come for our pockets. We saw what happened with Black Wall Street and Black wealth across this country with urban renewal and redlining and these neo-capitalist political systems, which were kind of gutting Black neighborhoods and Black businesses. It's 147 is not an isolated incident. That happened
It's
in
not.
Detroit, Chicago, Portland, all over the country, Atlanta. So, you know, how do we bounce back from that? I mean, CocoFro is an attempt to bounce back from that, and we've seen.
I see
Um,
CocoFro in 5 years being a international brand. I see it all over the country. It's market perfect, and it's a niche product, but it's the only one right now, and it will be. I mean, and it's delicious. Okay, it's not just um, you know a product. Okay, it's a delicious product.
Thank
And
you.
I wanted welcome Mark Lee to. He's our show's producer, and I know you know him, Pierce. And I want to welcome him to the show, especially now that we're kind of talking about, especially now that we're talking about, um, you know, what am I doing?
You did the wrong button. Okay, but that
The
happens.
cultural aspects, North Star, and how it overcame and built a stronger base because we have always taken care of ourselves. We have always built our own community here in Durham. We have always taken care of those who have taken care of us,
Yep.
and that is so important. And we have protected our institutions. And again, I'm gonna deal with that next week.
Yep. Hey,
But
Stella,
we.
so
Mhm.
just really quickly along those same lines and everything like that. I've known Pierce for a while. He's an amazing gentleman, an amazing musician, amazing entrepreneur. He's just done all kinds of great things. And both he and his family are big admirers of all of them and all along those lines. But I know that he's aware of this, so I'm going to give a quick plug to an event we've got at Tape Time tomorrow, which will be in the marketplace. It would be about 75 businesses in CocoFro will be organizing this. So it's a group that is doing a lot of economic development here in the area. They've got 55 plus businesses that will be there at a of all sorts and everything like that. I know CocoFro will be there, we'll be there, not stop by and everything along those lines. And I definitely need to get a commercial of his because you know there's a couple of commercials that exist that air on your show, my show, and a number of other shows here on Pod TV, which I'm part of. So I would love to be able to promote CocoFro if you've got any marketing materials in your city and everything like that. Just let me know that we got those videos out and I'll definitely give you a chance to play them on several shows that exist and all of that. But definitely, just wanted to let you know it's an amazing project coming that way. I'm looking forward to getting to GoPro project myself and take just really quickly. I'm going to let you get back to your interview. The first time I realized Pearson's connection to food was we did a joint venture with some international students and all along those lines. It was like a networking opportunity that we go through international focus and everything like that. And Chris doesn't know this, but I actually borrowed the trick of it, which is that he does when he's good a group of people, he will find out a common ground. He might be finding out what music they like or whatever food that they like. But I know the time he did it with me at Daytime, he asked these folks that were from Africa, that were from Europe, from a number of countries, their favorite food, and we got to learn about a lot of great dishes on that particular day. I think it was last year, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. But it was this group of about 100 folks, and like I said, just telling us about their dishes that they enjoy, and some of them I wasn't that familiar with. I know you might have been familiar with some of them. It was just great the way that you got them to open up, and I borrowed that tactic even in doing some of my history talks at Data.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, and I know Pierce does as well. Um, Pierce, come on and talk a little bit more about I can't have you on here. I've talked about North Star, I've talked about CocoFro, but I can't have a Grammy-nominated uh, artist on my show and Mark Lee with Hayti um, Heritage Center on the show and not talk about your music and your books. So, what's the latest project that you're working on? And now that Josh is back, am I gonna see some more collabs? I hope he ain't got too highfalutin now that he's director of economic development. That he's too good to rap anymore.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, Josh is still rapping. For those who are listening, Josh Gunn is running things at the Office of Economic Development for the city. But long before he was involved in shaping public policy, he was and is still a world renowned hip hop artist, and and has been since we were in high school. Yeah, no, Josh is funny. Our collabs these days, if you look at his Instagram stories, It's at the gym. Josh and I are at the gym together about once a month. We have a group with a few other fellas, including a local artist, Derek Beasley, and another brother named Dr. William Jackson, who runs Village of Wisdom. Also, they do the Black Genius Fest. So me, Dr. Jackson, and Beasley and Gunn, we be at the gym throwing heavy things around, trying to make sure our transition into our 40s is as graceful as possible. And so I'm grateful mostly for their brotherhood. It's nice to have friends who've been around Durham for a long time, who are also parents and who are invested in building their community, but also, your body. The first community the temple is your body. And so making sure, listen, we've lost a lot of brothers here in Durham, especially black men. Atreus Good, Brian Horton, Josh Rousey. What was my brother who ran the initiative for black men, the Hamilton Foundation? Um, oh, goodness. His name eludes me. We were the exact same age. Were you going to say his name, Brother Mark?
I was going to say, well, I know one of the brothers that is very important that we lost recently is Minister Paul Scott. I don't know if that's the one that you were thinking about, but Minister Paul Scott was definitely somebody very important that we recently lost, and all along those lines, and he was having some health issues as well. So I'm not sure if that's the one you were talking about, but definitely Minister Paul
Yeah,
Scott is we definitely should honor.
Minister Paul Scott, and I was thinking of DeWarren Langley
Right? Yeah.
was another one who passed away recently. Listen, everyone that I just mentioned is a black man, 50 or young or in their 50s. I know Minister Paul Scott was almost was in his later 50s, but everybody else, some 30s, 40-year-olds, brothers that aren't here. So how can you do all the wonderful work you want to do, whether it's working with kids or building a business or cleaning up your street, if you aren't physically here to be able to do the labor that's associated? It's a lot of hard work out here starting a business or running an organization. So the first thing I want to say, even before I get into my music, is that brothers and sisters and they thems, everyone out here who's listening, who's black, take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health. Make sure you have people around you who can keep you accountable. I think Brother Horton lived alone and, just didn't come to work one day. Come knocking on the door. It turns out he had passed a few days prior, and just living alone and stuff like that. I feel like our ancestors lived in community, either an intergenerational household or with some people who can check up on you. Because what may have been just a minor medical intervention ends up becoming lethal because you don't have people around you that can look after you and see about you. So please, please make sure you take good care of yourself. So as far as my music is concerned, um, I just dropped an album called Black Boy Glow, and it is an album kind of pouring into Black boys and those who nurture them. And listen, my music, my ice cream, my picture books, it's all about children and families. I'm trying to build a network of products that pour into young audiences. So when you come to my concert, you don't need to buy Doritos and Dippin' Dots. I got a product right here. There's no sugar in it, other than the natural sugars that come from a tree or from a date. Um, that is a healthier version of a snack that we want our kids to be eating. You don't have to buy the Spider-Man book from Marvel or Disney. I got books you can buy. You don't have to stream, you know, Meg the Stallion or Baby Shark. You can listen to my music. It's hip hop, but it's got some soul to it and some jazz in it. But there's no cursing in it, and the vibes and the lyrics are appropriate for children. We have songs about everything from being an unk. Like that's what they call me now. When I go play basketball with some young guys, they say, "What up, unk?" I got a song about being unk. There's a song on my album called HBCU, encouraging kids to pursue a college degree at a historically black college university. There's a song on my album dedicated to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who was a great black Afrophysicist. There's a song on there about DAP, about that cultural way that Black people greet each other. We don't just, hey, hello, how are you? No, we dap each other up, we slap, we pound, we do all. So it's about Black culture, and then it's kid appropriate for all ages. So if you look at the things that I'm doing or go over to my website, you're like, oh, he does a lot of things. I want you to know, especially for any entrepreneurs that might be watching the show, these are not isolated incidents. The character here, Space Homie, we call him Orion, who is the logo for CocoFro, is also a puppet character that I perform with when I do live shows for children and families. He appears in my books. So there's like a universe of Afrofuturistic Black children's media that is the tether between the products that I'm creating and bringing to the market. I'm working on a video game now where it's like a lactose intolerant. I was just talking with the developer about this morning. It's a game. It's like a mobile app game that kind of teaches about lactose intolerance. It's basically a brother getting chased by butter and cheese, and you have to fight it off and try to get some things. Because look, people don't necessarily think about the food pyramid as a Black social justice issue, but you know what's a bigger killer than the drugs that people doing on the street? It's the drugs that are in our food. It is heart disease, diabetes, you know, cardiac arrest, people grabbing their chest, they pass out, they can't get back up. It's because of the food that we're eating. So we need to get real political about our food. That's why organizations in Durham like Tall Grass are so important. For those of y'all who don't know, Miss Stella, if you haven't had them on as a guest, one of the brothers that I work out with that I mentioned, Derek Beasley, not only is he an artist in his own right, but he also founded Black August in the Park, which is a monthly gathering celebrating Black August, and he was a co-founder of Tall Grass Food Box. This is a group of folks that go source local produce from Black farmers around the state, and they will give you a box of corn and sweet potatoes and okra and stuff from throughout the state. I think they source from farmers in North, South Carolina, Virginia. Um, so it's regional, but that is called Tall Grass Food Box.
Yes.
Our food is not just it's not just our culture; it's a political statement. What and how we eat, and CocoFro is a part of that. So, there's a
So
lot of
do
people.
are they at Black Farmers Market
Of course,
or
yeah, tall grass. Yep, look for them.
Yeah, there's
okay?
definitely the Black Farmers Market, and he's also a member of Open Stoop and everything like that. They consider him that was kind of like a networking art group there. He was definitely one of the founders of that also. So he's the founder of a lot of major things here in the area and everything like that. Definitely somebody that more folks should know about. So he's been doing some great things. You mentioned something here earlier you're talking about because you talked about the ancestors.
I'm
There's
sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, I was gonna say if you could mute when Miss Mark's talking because there's an
yeah.
echo when you talk unless
Yeah,
she's
so
muted.
echo, and I think it's when yeah. Sometimes you have to do that on these shows, so you might have to mute as well and everything. But one of the things I was going to say is that you mentioned the ancestors, and I was actually going to say that the ancestors are very important. I know that even at Hey Ty, we talk about the ancestors, whether that's Mr. Merrick, that was the barber for Duke and one of the founders of Black Wall Street. But one of the ones we mentioned, I actually think of you as being an ideal modern version of this ancestor because John Avery of the Avery's Boys and Girls Club was what they call a multidimensional man, which is basically a Renaissance man. But he was all about education. He was all about making sure that what the quote unquote, and I hate using this term, but juvenile delinquents were finding alternative outlets to get involved in and everything like that. So he went to Kittrell, but he also founded the Boys and Girls Club. It used to be on our side of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, it's now moved over there by South Point and everything like that. But it's definitely that notion of being either a multidimensional man or a Renaissance man. So that's what I think of, even when I think of you and everything, Pierce. So I just wanted if you could talk about the importance of mentorship, because I know you've been mentoring for a while and everything like that. We're talking about hip hop and you and Josh Gunn. And I remember back in the day when y'all were helping people like G and Kane, who are very good in the rap field in their early days when they were just getting started, but they've got their own accolades now as well and everything like that. But they're a little bit younger than you, not much younger, but a little bit and everything like that. So I just wondering if you can talk about the importance of mentorship, because I think that that's something vital that we need to have in our community. My younger brother does that with some of his work that he does through his slingshot club, as well as some of the work that he does through his work with the youth and all along those lines. So I just wanted you to talk about the importance of mentorship.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Lee. Mentorship is very important. I am lucky. I'm really, really, really blessed. I came from a two-parent household and a multi-generational community of folks in my own bloodline who poured into me. I didn't grow up with any serious trauma. I had a great education. I had a lot of benefits, but the folks who really shaped who I am as an artist were mentors. It was people like Baba Chuck Davis. It was people like Mayor Bell. My first job working with a nonprofit at a college for Voices for Working Families was with a guy named Pat Hanna, who used to chair the airport authority. And Mayor Bell got me that job and kind of got sparked my interest in politics. Um, Other mentors, Dr. Perry Hall, who's one of my professors in the African American Studies department at UNC, Dr. Eunice Saleh, and one of her predecessors, Dr. Michere Mugo, who was the chair of the Department of African American Studies at Syracuse, where I did my graduate studies. These people really shaped me. Again, my parents, my grandma, I gotta shout them out because they did a great job with me and really showed me the blueprint of how to be a parent. But it's those people outside of your home, especially when you're a young knucklehead, you don't like listening to your daddy like I was. You need somebody else to come in and take you under their wing, and I've really had that. And guess what? My mom had mentors. My mother is a world-renowned jazz vocalist, has done all the things you would want to see in a jazz vocalist career. Guess what? She had a mentor right here in Durham. It was Brother Yusuf Salim at the Salam Cultural Center. Her first gigs were at the Hayti or at the Salam Center right here around Durham. So everybody needs a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, uh, go find a mentee and be one. But for me personally, I think you need a mentor and a mentee, somebody who can show you some game and somebody you can give some game to. So mentorship is really important. And Brother Lee, you mentioned pouring into youth. Everyone that I just mentioned, every one of those black men that I just mentioned under 50 who have died was a mentor to black youth. When I went to Minister Paul Scott's funeral, he said, in lieu of money, buy a children's picture book for a kid in your community. What a gift to Durham that he was an educator, a political activist, an artist, and a mentor to many. Going into neighborhoods that some people are scared to traverse. He was in there ministering, right? Minister Paul Scott. He was out there ministering through, oh man, books, hip hop, culture, journalism, social media activism, community activism. Um, when Paul Scott, Brian Horton was a professor at North Carolina Central University. Listen, you can't name one of the incredible black artists that have come out of Durham, specifically out of Central's jazz program, people who play with Masego and drum for Grammy winners like Rhapsody. Some of the best artists in the world come out of Durham, mentored by
Say
people
so.
like
Say so.
Listen,
And
mentored by
came through
Brian
that
Horton.
music and came through that music department at North Carolina Central University. And that goes back decades to when Donald Byrd um, made award-winning albums with the students at North Carolina Central back in the day. And that legacy that he started has continued to this day with a number of artists in residence that are multi award-winning and well-known international artists that have come to Durham to be a mentor and have also been mentees. I think so much people don't appreciate not just the cultural at North Carolina Central, but the Mary Lou Williams um, jazz community at Duke University and the legacy that she brought, and Baba Chuck Davis, who brought dance and made sure that African inspired dancing was part of the the American Dance Festival that we host every year in Durham.
Oh yeah,
Our
there's
cultural
no
legacy,
ADF without Baba Chuck. Yeah,
our legacy, our children, the children of Durham have the opportunity to be exposed to so much if we give them the key. If we open the doors are here, the opportunities are here. We have to connect our children to the opportunities in ways that are respectful um, and not treating them as um, you know treating them as the future of. There's an old fable about a king who dropped off a prince in a community but didn't tell the community who the prince was. And so every child was treated as if they were a prince or princess. And that's what we need to be doing with our children here in Durham.
We definitely got to do that together. Along those same lines, and I think Pierce would even agree with this. There are so many mediums that we don't even think about because earlier he mentioned Ernie Barnes will actually be doing a salute to Ernie Barnes at the Hayti in next year and everything like that. So it'll be in 2027 because Ernie was definitely a legacy person, but he was only one of several artists that are in the visual space that are part of that legacy. I think about Willie Nash. I think about Mr. Bigelow. I think about another Willie Bigelow. But I think of a number of these artists that are here, and we've also got a very rich, as you know, Pierce, collection of filmmakers. I know that even Estella has been involved in the film world with folks like Dilsey and others that have been involved in even activist filmmaking. And of course, y'all we're talking about ADF. There's a major film festival that exists, and it does feature a lot of our filmmakers, and it's actually two of them. There's the Hayti Heritage Film Festival, but there's also Full Frame because I've been involved with Full Frame for a full few years, and there are a number of filmmakers that are from here that have been definitely part of that as well. So there's a rich filmmaking community here in Durham, including the rich African American filmmakers.
well,
And
South
there's
Street
a
Sundown
new art
Sky.
gallery. There's a new art gallery in East Durham. Um, right, is it off? Is it on Gear Street? Um, that Dwan, Brother Dwan has opened. It is a beautiful. Oh my God, the art in that gallery will make your head spin. And there's a black-owned coffee shop right next door. Again, the Renaissance that's going on in East Durham um, is so important, and I'm just so grateful for all of the black talent that is still in Durham. Our legacy, Durham is not just a black business icon, it's a black cultural icon. And we have an educational icon. Brilliant minds have come through our HBCUs and at Duke as well. Durham is a city that where talent has the opportunity to bloom, and where we are giving choices to our children, other than and giving them on a daily basis um, physical examples that they know they have, if they have talent, if they're entrepreneurial, if they're musical, that there is a role model right here for them. And Pierce, I want you to know how much I appreciate you as that role model. And I appreciate you as that um, presence that is thinking about our children on a daily basis, creating music for our children, creating educational materials for our children, creating safe food for our children to eat and enjoy. And I can't wait for your store to open so that I can get some real ice cream. And
Thank you.
I may bring you some of my world famous vegan banana nut muffins
Come on.
for you to try with your ice cream.
That sounds
Uh,
great. I love that.
so we are at the end of the show, and Pierce, I want to give you the last word.
Wow. Well, thank you. My last word is gratitude. My grandma told me keep an attitude of gratitude, and building this business has not been easy. And but I'm deeply grateful to be on this podcast. I'm deeply grateful to be from Durham, and for the ancestors who have poured into me. And I just hope I'm doing y'all proud as my elders.
Well, you have made me proud over and over again. I'm so glad to associate myself with you and say I knew him when he and Danielle and Josh were running in these streets.
When they were running in the streets and everything like that, just really quickly, I know that the mentor of his is actually very proud of his work as well, because I know that one of the people that he is an artist in this area is, and I'm gonna mention his name because he's my dad, but Jim Lee is definitely a big fan of yours as well, because he's definitely an artist here in this area. But I know that he's definitely a fan of yours, both in terms of the music and everything else. I actually had the pleasure of seeing him and his lady love watching your mother and those three other young ladies do the sistering over there at Sharp Nine, because I actually went to that show on Juneteenth and everything like that, and they'll be bringing that to Hayti as well. But definitely, I know that he's a big fan of yours, and I don't know if he tells you that, but I'm gonna tell you for him and everything like that. But he's definitely a fan of yours and your work.
And I just want to again have you say the name of your new album that has dropped for the people so they can
Yes,
Black
ma'am.
Boy Glow.
Black Boy Glow. Yep, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you stream. And it's a family-friendly album about celebrating Black boys.
Yeah, I know
Well,
you're wrapping
thank
up,
you.
Stella. But I do have to tease Chris about one other quick thing, because I am as y'all know, I don't have any kids of my own, but you have that song called Uncle, and I am a big believer that you don't have to have children of your own to be, as we said earlier, a mentor, but even a father or an uncle figure and everything like that. So I know that I have definitely done that with a number of people in the community, and I know that others have as well. So I just wondered if you could speak to those of us that haven't been fortunate enough to have any kids of our own, and I'm in my mid 60s and everything like that, but we can still have that role of being a mentor figure, because I know that I'm not the only one that hasn't had kids and all along those lines, but there is that role, as your song Uncle talks about, and everything like that. So I just wondered if you could speak to that before we get off the air and everything along those lines.
Sure, yeah, no, listen, What Up, Unc is the name of the song that speaks to this topic. And listen, Unc doesn't have to be your biological uncle, right? Baba Chuck was Unc to me, and he was another wonderful role model and father figure and elder mentor to me and many, 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 many others. The founder of the African American Dance Ensemble, the founder of Kwanzaa Fest, the founder of the Bembe Festival. There are so many aspects of his living legacy that still permeate throughout Durham. And so, though we were not his biological children, listen, you see Baba Chuck with that big old dashiki on at Kwanzaa Fest. He embraced you with those, with that big arm and that huge smile and that radiating heart. You know you are his son, you are his daughter, you are his child, and he loves you. So you don't. Again, thank you, brother Lee, for bringing that up. Like you don't have to be a biological parent to, like Miss Adams said, treat everyone in the community like the prince and the princess and the royalty that they are. When you see that divinity in a person and you radiate that love towards them, it reflects back and comes out of them. And I definitely got that big time from Baba Chuck, and we need to be pouring that love into the kids in our community because they need it. They need it.
Well, again, thank you, Pierce, for being on the show today. Thank you, Mark, for joining. One last plug for CocoFro freeze-dried nice cream, which is and my favorite flavor, which is sweet potato pie. And so I want to again um, thank you. I want to thank everybody for. Am I seen? Yeah, I want to thank everybody for being on the show today. This has been the first of exciting month of Black August guests that we will have on the show. We will again have our guest John DeBerry to talk about his Blogo products and the Burdog natural hair products on his show. And I did score the big one. I can announce that former Congressman Mel Watt will be on the show August 21st to talk about his new biography about and how he has been able to have the fortune to be able to trace his family back 6 generations to uh, young African enslaved girl who was brought to this country. So he's going to come and talk to us about coming from those roots to going to Congress on August 21st. And John will be with us on August 28th. Action-packed month kicked off by Grammy-nominated Pierce Freelon, the founder and creator of CocoFro Nice Cream, freeze-dried nice cream, coming soon to my friends who are national. Let's get the plant open, and once we get the plant open, I'll get the food to you. And you know I'm gonna bring it as my snack um, when I'm on the road. So thank you again for attending and being part of this week's episode of Doing Justice Brings Joy.